Hi, my name is Senator Aaron Osmond, and I thought it would be a good idea to take a few minutes and explain to you some of the context and details about Senate Bill 71, results-based financing for early education. Now, I'd like to start this conversation with you explaining about what this bill is not about. There are 5 key things. In fact, many of the points that I'm going to make today are referenced with my PowerPoint presentation that I have that will be a part of this on the website that you can access directly. So the first thing I want you to know is that, number one, this bill is not about universal preschool. There is nothing under this bill that enables universal preschool. In fact, I personally don't believe in universal preschool. And I don't want to confuse anyone that that is the initiative or the purpose behind this bill. Second, this bill is all about return on investment of our tax dollars that we're already spending today. From my perspective, we need, as legislators, to find the best way to use our tax dollars. This bill is about using our tax dollars more effectively, more wisely, to the benefit of our most at-risk kids. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that much of what this bill is based on is the great work that's been taking place in the Granite school district system. But you need to know that, the results and the research that are behind this particular program are not done by some special interest group. The research was validated and completed by the University of Utah, the Utah State University. In fact, Utah State University is known as one of the top early education research organizations in the country. So this research has been validated, verified, over 5 years worth of data that you'll be hearing about. The next thing I want to share with you is that the program requires, in fact, it directly demands that parents and kids are engaged in this together. It's not about taking the child away from the parent. It's about engaging the parent and the child in an education solution that works for both of them. And then finally, from a classroom perspective, we realize that in order to provide these programs, we're going to have to expand the number of locations where this type of pre-K education is happening, but not at the expense of existing private providers that are in the marketplace. This is to directly engage. In fact, it requires that our school districts engage with existing providers, not to replace them or introduce a government program that will replace them, but work in conjunction with them. Now with that, I want to share with you a couple of details about this bill. What are the problems that we're actually trying to solve? The first thing you need to know is that right now, children that are at risk, meaning that they have a low income or that they're economically disadvantaged, or where English is a second language, those are the kids that we're talking about under this program. And in the period between 2008 and 2012, that group represents now 39% of the total population that is coming into our education system here in Utah. That's a stunning amount of students that have struggles and difficulties. You also need to know that as a state in the last 5 years, we've spent over $525 million trying to remediate and support these kids. And the unfortunate reality is that these kids do not have the skills that they need to be able to successfully get through our education system. They're struggling and they're failing. In fact, only 52% of our Latino population in the state actually graduates from high school. That's unacceptable to me. So we need to do something about this, and unfortunately what we're doing today is not working. We're spending a lot of money, but we're not getting the result. From an academic perspective, students who are low income are 15 points below regular students in our education system from an academic result perspective. English language students are over 50% below on a results base from our regular students in the education system. That's not acceptable to me. I'm sure it's not acceptable to you. So what we need to do is come up with a new way of educating and supporting these kids. And this is what we found. Through the research that I've mentioned, we have an opportunity to take advantage of some successes that are happening in the marketplace. And that's in pre-kindergarten solutions. We found that when we help these kids early, before they come to kindergarten, that we're able to help them in ways that we would normally not be able to after kindergarten. So the idea is to provide a high-quality preschool solution for these at-risk kids only. This is not universal preschool. And we want to provide it in 2 ways, through our classrooms and also through technology solutions accessible at home. Now, why do we call it high quality? Because the program has to be very structured and very specific to achieve the results that we need, as is proven by the evidence that we have. It has to have a defined, targeted at-risk population. It has to have high-quality instruction and learning materials. We need to have structured interactive learning and play. We need measured and tracked incomes, and the program has to have engagement from both parent and child. So the examples that we have right now, one of the best ones in our state is what has been happening in the Granite preschool program. And I just want to share with you really quickly what some of the details are there. It's fabulous. In the last 5 years, we've been following students, about 238 students that have been going through this program, what the impact was of their preschool experience and what it is now as they go through the regular education system. Of the 238 kids we followed, only 11 needed any kind of remediation or special education or English language support. Think about that. Only 11 out of 238. Of those students, we saved over $1.7 million in costs that we would have incurred unless they had gone through these programs. But even more importantly, the achievement gap for these kids was significantly reduced, down to 0 to 2% gap between a regular student and them. We've removed the achievement gap in this example. So I'm so excited about this because that's one of the examples. Now, there are other great examples throughout the state. Granite is not the only program that's successful. There are others, one in Park City, some down in Washington County, and others. Private programs as well that are succeeding in this way. The research shows when we invest early, we get great results. So how do we go about doing this? Now, I'm not going to go through any more of my slideshow. I just want to give you just a couple of high-level points about this bill. The most important thing you need to know is, number one, we want to significantly expand the availability of these programs for our most at-risk kids. And the way that we do that is by providing additional funding for them to do that. So how do we provide this funding to have access to pre-K programs in the schools or to provide access to home-based technology? How do we do it? We don't have enough money in the state to accomplish that right now. The answer is something so totally innovative that it's never been tried anywhere in the United States to this point. And that is a true public-private partnership, bringing in private investors to help us to fund the expansion of these programs, and then we repay them over time based on the results that are realized through the program. So if we don't see the results that we want, we don't see that reduction in achievement gap, if we don't see that reduction in cost, then there's no obligation on the behalf of the state to pay back that private investor. Now, why would a private investor want to do that? The answer is simple. We have the evidence that the programs work. So they're willing to put that money and put it at risk, knowing that the evidence is there. And the state, what do we need to do to make that possible, to ensure that we can repay them? We have to do a smaller annual appropriation that will accrue over time. So by the end of 4, 5, 6 years, we'll have the funds in the account necessary to be able to pay back that private investor. But the great part for the state is we will have saved significantly more money than we'll ever have to pay back because of the cost avoidance and the improvement in the academic results. Now with that, I'm going to conclude my video presentation. I want you again to take some time to look at the PowerPoint presentation that's on the website. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns. I'm going to leave my email address, my phone number. If you want to get a hold of me, I would love to spend the time and talk with you about this bill. I hope that you will call your legislator, your representative, and your senator and let them know this bill is innovative. This bill addresses a real specific need for at-risk kids and will make a big difference in the quality of education in the state of Utah. Thank you so much.